maknanya tak boleh lagi buat protein pada petang ni. Right. For today's lectures, we'll be discussing about the lipid requirement for fish. Ya, boleh nampak slide ya?
Boleh, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Mula dia tak pergi. Okay, today we'll be discussing on the lipid and lipid requirement in aquaculture. Yeah. So, what are lipids? Lipids are organic molecules that contain carbon, serupa juga dengan protein and carbohydrate. But the difference is that the carbon is in a variety of chain or ring conformation and are found in tissue of plants and animals. Yeah. These organic molecules are soluble in organic solvent such as chloroform, ether, benzene, ethanol, dan lain-lain. Ya. And it's sparingly soluble in water. Not at all soluble in water. Kejap ada masuk lagi ya. So it's not at all soluble in water, and lipids are highly effective source of energy for fish, compared to carbohydrate or compared to protein. It is a highly effective energy source because they're lebih digestible compared to others. Okay, why lipids is important? First is that they are important structural important structural features of protein, of lipid. They are composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, just like carbohydrate. Ada lagi nak masuk. Bas lewat hari ni. Ada lagi nak masuk. Alright. Bila begini kita susah nak start . Saya pun lupa kadang-kadang apa nak cakap. Ada lagi. Ada lagi nak masuk? Sekarang baru ada dalam 40 orang. Macam mana ada yang pakai dua jenis? Ada lagi? Senam kan? Ini sudah 40 dah. Kalau keep on macam ni susah juga saya nak ni ya. Okey, lepas ni kita diamkan aja lah. Alright. However, lipid contain small amount of oxygen compared to carbohydrate, compared to carbon or hydrogen. Unlike carbohydrate, carbohydrate banyak juga oxygen. So it makes them less oxidized and more energy compared to carbohydrates and protein. Ada lagi nak masuk? Norain Natasha. Kalau tengok list ni lebih daripada 41 dah. Alright. And another structural features is that the amphipatic molecules with both hydrophobic dan juga hydrophilic ya. One is hydrophilic, which attracted to water, while the other one is the non-polar, is they are hydrophilic, meaning they tak it doesn't like water, you know, or love the water in this case. Yeah, hydrophobic is they hate water. Yeah. Right, comparison. Some of these stearic acid, part of it, fatty acid, compared to glucose, structure dia ada berbeza. Yeah. There are some yang ada aromatic juga ya. Okay, and then lysine, amino acid, structure dia agak berlain ya, walaupun sama di sini ya. Di sini pun sama, COOH. Sini COOH juga ada. Tapi dia banyak ni, C2HOH. Okay, ni COOH, okay. Yang ni C2OH lain. Ya. Kalau in carbohydrate, there are a lot of oxygen there. Alright, the division of lipid can be divided into two. One is the presence of alcohol glycerol. This is glycerol. The other one with the absence of glycerol. So this is the division first. Yeah, you're talking about the non-glycerol base, the absence of glycerol. This one is the presence of cholesterol. So if you look at lipid with the presence of glycerol, we have simple fat and also compound. Yeah, and for simple fat, these are the main oils. Yeah, fats and oils that contain triglycerides. Yeah, two fatty acids and plus glycerol, it becomes triglycerides. Yeah? And then the compound, we have phosphoglycerides, glycerides. Mesti ada phospholipid, dia jadi apa ni, phosphoglyceride ya, because ada phosphate di situ. Contoh macam alcohol and amine dari sini. And then we have glycoglycerol lipid. Ini banyak glycerol campur dengan lipid plus sugar, so it becomes glycerol lipid. Ada sugar di situ, dia boleh bercantum dengan sugar, boleh bercantum dengan phosphate. Alright, while the non-glycerol base, kalau tengok ni ada sphingolipid, ada dibagi balik dalam sphingolipid ni ada ceramide, ya. Sphingosine banyak di apa ni, fatty acid campur sphingosine sama juga. Di sini pun sama juga ya, ada sphingomyelin, tapi dia ada phosphate di situ, tambah phosphate. So they have phosphate, sphingosine and fatty acid. Alright. And for glucosphingolipid, kita ada, they have sugar, sphingo dan juga fatty acid. So they become glycosphingolipids. Ini sphingomyelin because dia ada phosphate dan juga amin di sini. Yang ni tadi saya sebut phosphoglyceride ni dia ada alkohol, ada phosphate dia campur. Alright. And then we have wax lah because dia fatty acid plus alcohol they become wax. And then we have terpenes, and then steroid ni banyak yang shape dia macam ni lah sikit apa ni dia punya aromatic sikit Alright. And classification tadi cuma pembahagian what do you call it division based on the cholesterol and also the absence of cholesterol. Whereas when we classify the lipid, we classified them into triglycerides, and then phospholipid, glycolipid, wax, dia ada sendiri, and then sterol. Let's look at it. Yang tadi based on the same what do you call it division, the fats dia masih lagi sama dalam grup ni, triglycerides and apa ni dia sendiri dalam based on the sterol and kalau tengok yang base of non glycerol, kita tengok dia ada base yang tadi saya cakap wax dan juga steroid dia sendiri. But in the middle ada juga yang dia combine. Phospholipid can be this sphingomyelin dan juga yang atas ni ceramide dia becomes ceramide tak masuk. Yang this one become phospholipid dan juga phosphoglycerides. Yang ada phosphate ini dia menjadi phospholipid di situ. So phospholipid can be the base on the glycerol atau base daripada juga sphingomyelin and then we have the group of glycolipid tak nampak sebab saya dah ada tertutup di sini. The glycolipids they can be both from the glycerol base dan juga boleh daripada non-glycerol base as long as they have sugar ni, so they become glycolipids so it can be both they are all still lipids, sama juga dia ada sugar dalam komponen dia. Yang ni pun tadi ada sugar. Alright. So these are the classification, dia ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yang ni dia tak masuk mana-mana sepatutnya dia masuk some group tapi dia tertinggal, dia tak masuk dalam phospholipid, dia juga tak masuk dalam wax. Alright, what are fatty acid? Fatty acids ni is the component of the main component in lipid. It can be simple or it can be complex. For example, kalau this one can be simple kalau tengok. Kalau it could be just one CH3, CH1 this group, and then the carboxyl group it becomes a lipid fatty acids. Dan carboxyl group dan juga hydrocarbon group and carboxyl group dia yang hydrophilic tadi plus hydrocarbon chain it could be long, yang ni yang can be long or short paling kecil dia ada 4 carbon nanti kita tunjuk selepas ini. And there are 40 natural fatty acids, dan kalau you buat dia ada yang very short chain dan ada juga yang very long chain. Okay. And fatty acid can be grouped into several group. Yeah, one is saturated. Saturated are the one that have no apa ni. So saturated dia ada satu, there is no apa ni double bond. They are all single bond. Yeah, for example this one, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 carbon yang paling pendek sekali. Nanti saya sebut nama dia. Saturated fatty acid, and there are also the unsaturated one is the one that have double bond. Yeah, for example, this one is monosaturated. Dia ada single double bond. Tapi kalau polysaturated, they contain 2 or more saturated. Yeah, double bond. Sorry. Di puasa ni apa ni, kadang-kadang pagi-pagi pun dah macam mamai sikit lah. Alright, and polysaturated tadi dia ada 2 or more double bond, so dia become polyunsaturated acid lah. And double bond dia adalah bond, bukan bonds of fatty acid ya. Dia bind fatty acid together. And more more bonds ini maknanya dia less solid, is more liquid. Kalau banyak lagi double bond dia mudah liquid. Saturated ni usually kalau dekat room temperature dia kadang-kadang beku, ya. Kalau duduk dalam tu lagi beku. Dalam peti ais dia akan beku. Contoh macam margarine, these are saturated fat, banyak saturated fat, ya, compare dengan liquid. Kalau liquid dia ada banyak double bond, ada unsaturated, more unsaturated, they stay more liquid. Right, then let's look at the nomenclature of fatty acid. Biasanya it starts with C and then the number of carbons. It could be shorter, tadi saya kata 4, so this C4, and Y is the number of the double bond. Here is double bond, yeah. And N is normally kita sebut N, tapi ada juga yang replace it with omega. So omega 3, omega 6 ni adalah sebenarnya N juga. And then we have Z here. Z is the number of carbon, the first carbon where the double bond appears, yeah, from the non-carboxyl group, yeah, not from this, but the non-carboxyl group. So in this case, if you look at linoleic acid, if you count, they have 18 carbons, ya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 carbon. Betul lah, ya. Is C18. And then they have 2 double bond, 1, 2 double bond, and N6 is where the first bond appears, yeah, from the non-carboxyl. So it's from here, so you have to calculate from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's number 6 di situ, yeah. So that's how the nomenclature of the fatty acid, each fatty acid, and how they are there. Right. Okay, sorry tadi saya kata 4, tapi 3 is the shortest. Propionic acid, dia ada C3 and 0 double bond. So dia ada jadi macam ni je lah, 0. C3, 0. To describe the fatty acid. Ya. And then yang C4 ni adalah butyric acid. Ni bukan C4 yang buat bom tu tidak. Yang ni just fatty acid. Dia still unsaturated, they contain no double bond. So kalau ada 0 at the back ni, they are saturated fatty acid. Capric acid, for example, ada 10 carbon, no double bond. So these are straightforward, simple acid. Ya. Ada banyak ya, sampai C230 paling panjang, kalau tak silap saya. They are saturated without any double bond. Salah saya. Tadi saya dah go through pun saya miss juga lagi. Di paling and then we have lacquerasic acid ya. Dia ada carbon C30. Biasanya jarang. Biasanya kita jumpa dalam sampai, kalau analyze minyak-minyak biasa tu sampai dalam 24, 25. Jarang ada sampai 32 for fatty acid. So banyak, saya tak suruh hafal lah. Banyak palmitic acid ni biasa. The shorter fatty acid ni kadang-kadang is they good as apa ni, ada function dia, is good for the biota dalam the gut, and also act as antioxidant kadang-kadang and anti-mold. Banyak sampai 38 pun ada. Tapi memang jarang lah kita dapat dalam 38 ni. Kalau saya buat analisis biasanya jarang dapat that long. Alright, and then we are looking at mono unsaturated acid. Biasanya start dengan C16. Yang ni dia palmitoleic acid ini dia merupakan penting juga dalam dia. So dia sometimes dia boleh di-convert untuk buat as an energy, dan satu lagi boleh di-convert untuk jadi yang panjang-panjang dalam body kita. Alright, monosaturated has only one double bond, and this is where they are usually dia dekat apa ni, odd numbers ya. 7 dengan 9 is quite common. So dia sampai nucleic acid. Their purpose mainly for energy jugalah, dan juga untuk tadi saya kata untuk boleh di-convert kepada minyak yang lain atau fatty acid lain. Alright, and the most important thing yang biasanya required or very essential in the fish are the polyunsaturated acid. And polyunsaturated biasanya composed of ada juga N9, tapi mostly N3, omega 3 dan juga omega 6 ya. Some yang important for fish, linoleic acid, N3, C3N3, eicosapentaenoic acid or APA. This is important for good heart for human. So kalau human ni kena cari yang ni lah. Kalau banyak minyak or your food contain a lot of EPA and is 5 and 3, 20, and docosahexaenoic acid, hexanoic acid, DHA, 22, 6 and 3. These two are very important for human heart. And the reason is because dia tak clot. Dia tak what do you call it, tak cair dalam darah. And that's what marine fish banyak yang perlukan ini, because di apa ni, di ocean itu sejuk lagi, so they need all this so that the fat would not be frozen dalam tu, dalam darah dia. And then linoleic acid, these are normally required by the freshwater fish, ya. N2 N6 ni banyak diperlukan oleh freshwater fish. Yang these are marine dan human. Yang ni adalah for freshwater fish. And then kita ada juga linoleic juga. Yang ni alpha, yang ni rupa dasar beta. Linoleic acid kita tengok dia ada 3 double bond. Sama tadi, yang ni kalau linoleic linoleic alpha dia ada 3 juga double bond, tapi dekat omega 3. Yang ni dekat omega 6. Banyak lagi arachidonic acid, omega 6. But normally these 3 are required in fish. Some fish required all the 3, but some fish required more on these 3 ni. Kadang-kadang for the marine fish. Meat acid ini the only one ni, tak silap saya, yang ada omega 9. Omega 9, tapi tak essential biasanya dalam ikan. Okay, yang saya tunjuk tadi, some of the amino acid, fatty acid that are essential in fish. Kalau freshwater, linoleic, linoleic ni very omega 6. Kemudian ada alpha linoleic, omega 3, EPA, 20 omega 3, 5 omega 3, and these 4 are normally required in the fish. 1, 2, 3, the omega 3 mostly required by the marine fishes and crustacean. Omega 6, freshwater. And some freshwater require both. The omega 3 and omega 6, like tilapia, for example, they require both. But most freshwater, they require only omega 6. Okay, let's go to triglycerides. Saya laju juga hari ni. Saya ingat saya kena laju jugalah, because Ramadan ni tekak kering. Alright, they are mostly in oil and rarely available in free fatty acid forms. Dia mesti ada fatty acid plus kolesterol, dia campur. Dia jarang dalam single fatty acid. Normally in acidified form, become triglycerides. Dia bercantum. Triglycerides are known as fats and oils, and is the largest component in animals except crustacean. Crustacean banyak yang lain, banyak ada kolesterol dan sebagainya. Tapi for fish, dia banyak dalam oilnya form. Okay, phospholipid is the second largest component in the body after triglycerides. They can be glycerol or sibuglycine base. So these are phospholipid. Tadi kita tengok dalam tu ada dua division. Dan sphingolipid ni daripada yang non-glycerol base. Yang glycerol base adalah lecithin. Lecithin are being used in food industry biasanya sebagai emulsifier. Emulsifier kalau tengok in biscuit, cake dan sebagainya banyak lecithin. And you have to be very careful. Ada yang vegetable lecithin, ada yang animal lecithin. So kalau animal lecithin tu try to avoid, cari yang soy or vegetable lecithin kalau nak makan lah. And then we have cephalin dan yang non-glycerol base sphingomyelin adalah komponen yang penting phospholipid dalam body lipid. And then we have glycolipid. Glycolipid can be yang saya kata tadi dia ada apa ni? Ada sugar with the mono ataupun oligosaccharides as part of their component. Again, dia boleh ada glycerol ataupun tidak ada glycerol. The smallest is 2 fatty acid acidified with alcohol, with glycerol. Dia campur dua ni and link to sugar. So ada sugar. Yang ni pun sama juga ya. Tapi dia tak ada, dia cuma ada satu fatty acid aja. Tak macam ni dua glycerol and then apa ni mono sugar. Tapi yang ni ada fatty acid, sphingosine dan juga sugar. Waxes, kumpulan dia adalah long chain fatty acid acidified dengan dia long chain satu fatty acid tapi long dengan alcohol. So they are weakly hydrophilic and normally is completely insoluble in water. Wax macam daripada B semua tu dia memanglah dia tak soluble in water. Makin teruk saya punya kekeringan tekak. Steroids, steroid contain mesti ada sterol, dia ada sterol ya. This include apa ni kolesterol, bile salt, adrenal dan juga sex hormones. So this hormone are also a form of steroids. Dia punya function in the body is as a component of several hormones system, especially in sexual maturation and also sex-related physiological function. Maknanya dia function as a male or as female. And the basic structure is ada interlocking C ni, macam ni ada 4 interlocking. The basic dia ada 4, 1, 2, 3. Yang ni 1, 2, 3, 4 interlocking. Alright, and we have talked about lipid in general and their classification and types of fatty acids. What are the functions of lipid, especially in fish? Number one is the main source of energy. In fact, it's not cheap. The second cheapest energy source. Free fatty acid biasanya is the main aerobic fuel for energy metabolism. And then for triglycerides, pula the primary is energy reserve or depot for long-term requirements such as swimming, when there is inadequate food available, so this energy will be used for the body. Triglycerides are usually stored in adipose or muscle tissue, Kadang-kadang disimpan juga dalam liver. And for crustacean, including cod pods, the energy are stored in waxes rather than triglycerides. Ini tadi kita dah cerita tadi sikit, dia lain sikit tadi dengan tadi dengan ni, kalau as energy reserve dia tak dalam wax biasanya. Alright. Second, the function is a source of essential fatty acids, source of phospholipid, and also sterol. Apart from the amount of lipid that is required by the fish, they also must meet the requirement for the essential fatty acid, essential phospholipid, not all, and sterol. Not all fish require sterols. I will go into it that a bit later. All right. Third is as a structural component of a cell membrane. If you look at the cell membrane, mostly from protein, ada juga sikit carbohydrate, and they are very important. The phospholipid groups and also the cholesterol group are very important part in the membrane components of cell membranes. They are holding this. Right. 5. I don't expect you to remember ni semua, tapi remember lah the structure components of cell membrane, especially phospholipid and cholesterol. As a precursor of fat-soluble vitamins, some say precursor, but dulu-dulu banyak dikatakan transportation of fat-soluble vitamins. There are 4 fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin A, D, E, K is easier to remember. Kalau dulu ejaan masa saya kecil-kecil dulu di sekolah rendah, eja adik adalah A, D, E, K. But when I went to high school, they have changed the way that we spell. It becomes A, D, I, K adik. Tapi in vitamins dia tak tukar lah. They are still A, D, E, K. Easy to memorize. And the cholesterol biasanya linked together with vitamin D, while terpenes dia banyak dalam untuk A, E, K. Yep. And then we have number 5 is as a precursor of some hormones. Cholesterol especially, they are related to the sex hormones like androgen and estrogen, mainly important for eggs and also sperm development. So kalau you design what do you call it, broodstock diet, you need to have this cholesterol. Adrenal hormones, these are important during metabolism. And corticosteroid. Ini kalau untuk manusia penting juga untuk dealing with stress. So jadi lecturer ni kadang-kadang stress juga, boleh mengamuk semua. So apa ni, kena ambil banyak lah ni kolesterol. So but too much cholesterol is also bad for your health. Dia boleh apa ni, kolesterol banyak dia boleh block your the apa ni, artery dalam jantung. So corticosteroid ni pula is very important for reproduction dan juga salinity tolerance, especially for fish. The anadromous fish that move to freshwater or the other way, and also for reproduction. Alright, number 6 is as a precursor of bile salt, pigment, and also eicosanoid. Ni eicosanoid, okay? Silap kadang saya sebut. Cholesterol is very important part of bile salt. Bile salt ni untuk digestion of lipid, very important. Depends the carotenoid for pigment. Arachidonic acid, phospholipid ni dia penting untuk influence reproductive, respiratory, circulation function, as well as iron and water balance. Ini penting, iron dalam dia juga water balance. And arachidonic acid ini also act as a first line of defense against invasion of potential pathogen. Macam ada baru ni my students, 2 of my students did this study. They found that using phospholipid, dia punya survival of fish is better bila kita challenge dengan bacteria, pathogenic bacteria. So it's very important. Phospholipid is very important in that case. Alright, dia tak sebut sini tadi precursor. And then last, biasanya adalah the muscle texture dan juga taste. You need the lipid in the fish muscles, so that they provide a nice texture for the fish. That's why some fish they taste really good with good muscle texture and good taste. So mesti ada oil has to be added in the body, so that they have a better good texture and also taste. Too much tak boleh, too little the taste is off. Alright, that's the function of lipid. There are what, 7 just now, the 7 function of lipid. So biasa macam ni, kalau ada 7 function, biasanya saya tanyalah, give me 5 function of lipid in fish. Alright, the lipid and essential fatty acid requirements, dia varies with species. The most important thing with species, they varies with different fish has different requirement. Age, the smaller fish, they require slightly higher lipid compared to the adult or broodstock. And environment such as salinity and temperature is also different. Dia punya lipid requirement could be higher in marine environment compared to freshwater environment. Similar like protein. Remember when I said about protein? Sorry dia nak ujung-ujung minggu ni tak immunity kurang sikit. Alright, in general, the fish, the range that they require is as low as 4%, as high as 20%, especially for salmon, semua dia around 20% lipid are required. Kalau excess, dia more than that, kadang-kadang depends on fish, dia akan jadi fatty carcass dan juga visceral. Lava tadi saya kata dia require higher, and for marine, the essential they require more omega-3, mostly omega-3. For freshwater, most requires omega-3 and omega-6, but some species require both, such as tilapia. Okay, let's get some of the example. These are the generalization. The carnivore, if you look at it, they require higher lipid level requirement. This is because they need the energy to chase after their prey. Yeah, so that's why they need require more lipid in their diet. Omnivore, in general, yeah, they requires about 8 sampai turun kepada 5. And for muscle, we tak buat untuk fry atau larvae, tapi we found that the requirement is fingerling sampai juvenile is about 5. Yeah, is the optimal. If you give them more than 10, the growth will start to drop. Yeah, so it drop badly. For Cryolampam, we have done the research. For larvae, it's very high, 13.5. And for fingerlings and juvenile, we found that the optimal is about 4. If you put more than 8, the growth will start to drop drastically. So more than the requirement, optimal, ada masalah bagi some fish. Ada soalan di situ. And we have for Nell tilapia, mostly is from fingerling onward is about 8 to 10. If you give them more than 12%, the fish will not have a good growth. In fact, the growth are suppressed ataupun makin menurun. Alright. This is for for monodon. Second, yeah, this is for monodon. If you look at it, the requirements when at larva is about 10 to 15, and then PL 10 to 24, they requires about 7.5, but as it grow, they slightly more, tapi tak boleh about 3 to not less, not less than 3 in their diet. Ini tak masuk yang omega 3 and also omega 3 and also cholesterol. Yeah? Right. As I mentioned earlier, other than the total lipid requires, some fishes also and also shrimp requires phospholipid. Yeah? For mussel, a study dekat UMT found that about 4% are optimally required. Remember that the requirement for oil is what 5, yeah, and then phospholipid is about 4, 2 to 4. So it is despite the low requirement, but mussel is a very fatty fish. Yeah? And then we have for Cryolampam, the optimal phospholipid we did recently. One of my PhD students found is about 4. Kita pun buat untuk now one of my students is doing PhD to study the phospholipid requirement of lambam sungai. It's about 4 to 6. Yeah? So it's not apa ni tak finalized lagi dia punya data. Right, and then we have common carp is about 2 to 4. This is the optimal requirement. Cobia is a marine fish. Now it's given a very good attention by culturists around the world. Kita ada ikan ni, tapi di Malaysia ni tak orang tak nak sangat makan ikan cobia ni. But in Taiwan, in Central America, they are now culturing this species like crazy. Yeah, so the requirement are more than 8%. The requirement is about lipid is about 20, because this is a carnivorous fish. And then we have a shrimp chroma, the Japanese shrimp, 3 to 5 post-polypid. Badame is 3. Yeah? Monodon is about 3 juga, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah? Cholesterol, requirement cry, we found that 0. For this is for larvae. When we put more than 1 and above, we notice that there are some changes in their hepato, the damages. There are some damages in their liver and also gill. So bila kita test dia dengan bakteria, terus habislah. Dia punya mortality was very, very bad. So it means that you should not bagi kolesterol pada lava ikan lampam ni. For now, they require about 2% cholesterol. China catfish 1 apa namanya, very low, 0.16. Phospholipid dia pun tak tinggi, and then cholesterol juga rendah. But they are required. Yeah. And normally freshwater fish dia tidak perlu sangat kolesterol. But some do require cholesterol. Okay, what happened to lipid after ingestion? Yeah? Remember that there will be ingestion, the feed will be ingested, and then unlike others, they will digest directly, but in the gut or in the stomach, the lipid will first be emulsified, and during this emulsified, it is converted into tiny droplets of lipid droplets before the digestion occur, and then absorption and also metabolism there. All right, in emulsification, the lipid are broken into tiny droplets. These are fat globule, and with bile salt, they are broken into tiny droplets, emulsified, yeah, tiny droplets. With the bile salt, yeah. Okay, the bile salt, the droplet is smaller, so it is covered by the bile salt. Yeah. And in digestion, following becomes tiny droplets, the is insoluble at this moment. So the triglyceride will be broken into fatty acid by lipase. Will be lipase first, and then there will be also esterase. So each of these enzymes has a different function in the digestion. And the lipase is from pancreas, bile is from liver, and then this fatty acid will be broken into what the triglyceride will be broken into free fatty acid. And as I mentioned, the lipase is produced in pancreas, while the lipase is from the bile. Yeah, bile salt. Right. And this will be scattered into the pyloric CK and also the interior intestine. Right. Then the free fatty acid, what happens is that once they are digested and broken into free fatty acid, they are absorbed through the intestine into the bloodstream, and also later into the lymphatic system. Okay, and the three mechanisms that are involved, ini pun biasa saya tanya, the three mechanisms that are involved in the absorption of free fatty acid. Ada tiga. Ada passive diffusion. This is simple. The fatty acid just cross from the high concentration to the low concentration. It cross the gut into the gut. Into the gut, into the bloodstream directly. So in this diffusion, restitution ni tak banyak energy yang diperlukan. No energy required for this absorption. And then we have active transport. And this transport is that the protein will act as a pump, and they would pump the, what do you call it, the lipid across the cells, yeah, and require high energy. Energy is required here because it's pumping from the low concentration of fat to the high concentration of fat. Yeah. And last is through the pinocytosis, where it likes it act as an amoeba. Yeah? The cells will act as an amoeba. They will just eat, what they call it, engulf the fat into the cells, into the intestine cell. And tadi ada lymphatic acid, tak apa, nanti saya cerita di sini. Dan fatty acid transferred into the bloodstream and in three forms, either in free fatty acid dia terus ke ni. Ada setengah tu dia bound with albumin, and some are bound in chylomicron. The chylomicron biasanya dia jadi bila dia pass through the Golgi apparatus. Free fatty acid, it will combine with the protein, with the protein in the Golgi, it becomes chylomicron. Ada sebut kilomicron, ada yang sebut apa tadi, kilmicron. Tak ada low-nya, tak sebut. Sebab so far most yang sebut kilomicron. Alright, and then barulah dia masuk ke dalam lymph portion, or lymph bahagian dalam intestine. So once they enter the lymph, they will be carried out away from the intestine to the blood, to the other parts of the body. Alright, tadi this summary how lipids, when they get ingested in the stomach, there will be bile, and also from liver, then you got bile, salt will what do you call it, emulsify the fat, and then the lipids, and also from the thing that the esterase, they come and start to digest the triglyceride into free fatty acid plus cholesterol. So this will enter the body as free fatty acid, as albumin, and also as kilomicron. Dan free fatty acid ni will be normally converted into energy cepat, especially the saturated fatty acid will be converted into energy. Dalam class session dia tak ada blood, dia pakai hemolymph. Okay, for metabolism, what are the use of fatty acid? They will be used as energy. They will be incorporated into the membrane especially the cell membrane, and then fatty acid will support other metabolic activity, and they will combine and form new lipids molecules in the body. So, and these lipids are also needed for tadi kalau energy for swimming and so on. For this combined probably because disimpan untuk katakan migration dan sebagainya. Alright. As I mentioned earlier, that the digestibility of fat is higher compared to other cut protein or carbohydrate. Yeah? And ironically, in for lipid, the digestibility is higher if the lipid contain very long chain fatty acid, so dia lagi cepat digestible. Yeah? If you look at it, polyunsaturated are much more digestible than monounsaturated, and then later the saturated fatty acid yang tak banyak. So that's what kalau lard or beef tallow, the digestibility is not as good if you compare with the fish oil or other vegetable oil. And for omega-3 yang banyak tadi, DPA dengan EPA, digestibility dia 100% in fish. Yeah? So that's what kalau you feed them in the diet, dia punya losses tu very little, tak ada, dia almost tak ada. Alright, and temperature dan ingredient influence on the digestibility. If you look at the temperature tadi, the higher the temperature, this is for trout. Kita tengok dia punya digestibility from 89 to 92. So it's higher with digestibility. But not many study has been done on other fish. This because for tropical, they almost constant the temperature. This is for rainbow trout. If you look at the digestibility of oil from fish meal, feather meal, fish meal, poultry, offal meal, wheat meal, kita tengok ada beza. Kalau fish oil, fish oil ni tinggi digestibility dia. Ini untuk grass carp, kalau tengok from fish meal, oil from fish meal is 100% digestible. Soybean 99%, but some copra cake tinggi 100%. Cornmeal oil dia tak berapa digestible, very poor. Yeah? So it depends on the digestibility juga, beza mengikut source of lipid. Okay, lipid pathology. What happens if there is too much or too little lipid in the diet? What happens to the fish? If there is a deficiency in essential fatty acid, again biasanya tadi banyak yang omega-3 ataupun omega-6, ya. Ada about 4 je yang essential. If they are deficient, it cause retarded growth. This is quite common. Worse, it also cause malformation and deformity. So if you see any deformed fish, baru ni ada somebody posted that ikan kelah dia has a deformed mouth, mulut dia kecil je. So these are, but this could be also essential fatty acid, but mostly because of the vitamin C. Yeah? It's slightly reduced immunity to pathogenic microbes. Kita termasuk juga EPA dan juga PL penesterol. Phospholipid ni kalau tak ada, dia more exposed to pathogenic bacteria. Dia punya immunity very low. And in worst cases, this deficiency can cause mortality. They kill the fish. Yeah? All right. But having too little is a problem. Having too much lipid in the diet also cause problem. Mainly reduces the growth, and also the feed efficiency, means that they eat more but they grow little. And at the same time, the accumulation of visceral fat. Yeah? This is bad. Kalau if you buy the fish and 1 kilo of fish, if there are more than 10% fat in their viscera, that's bad, because you won't be able to eat those parts. Yeah? So rugilah bila you beli ikan tu tapi mostly dalam fat yang di perut dia tu, you terpaksa buang. So you are paying for the inedible punya portion. Yeah? Alright. Another thing is oxidation of PUFA. Kalau PUFA ni senang auto-oxidize, and when PUFA oxidize, they release toxic substance such as free radical. Kalau dalam feed ni very bahayalah. So that's why when you have the feed, you gunakan dia dalam masa 3 months. Yeah? Alright. What are the sources of lipid? Cepat saya ni, patut 2 jam. This is problem kalau tak apa ni online. Biasanya tercepat, sebab kita tak dapat tengok you punya reaction. Kita tak boleh apa ni, tak two-way punya communication dalam lecture. Kalau face to face tu senang sikit. Okay, what are the lipid sources yang rich in omega-3? Ada fish oil, squid oil, linseed oil. Saya tak pernah cuba yang black soldier fly itu, saya tak pernah analyze lagi apa dia punya content dia. These are the 3 yang common. Fish oil ni sekarang makin susah nak dapat. Squid oil so expensive. Linseed oil is from vegetable. Dia tapi ada limited percentage boleh digunakan makanan, because dia rasa bitter. They have a bitter taste. So tak boleh masuk certain amount, tak boleh lebih sangat, nanti ikan tak makan. Dia apa ni, yang macam affect the feed intake, ya. Dia selera ikan tu tak berapa. Sources that are rich in omega-6 are the vegetable oil, especially the crude oils, include apa ni, ini contohnya fish oil ada menhaden, we have menhaden, cod liver oil, and biasanya this oil are produced, is a byproduct of the fish meal industry. When they produce the fish meal, they divided the product into fish meal and also fish oil. So both dapat premium price. Yeah? Fish meal is very expensive. Menhaden oil, fish oil is also expensive. And in future, we might not have enough fish oil and also fish meal, because fish oil are also used for animal production, livestock, and also for human. Orang manusia pun perlukan juga ni. It's good for the heart. For fish meal, we compete with the animal industry. At the same time, mungkin sekarang ni fish meal pun orang boleh buat kopok lekor dan sebagainya. This we kena compete. This is crude palm oil. So far that we have studied, crude palm oil is suitable boleh menggantikan 100% fish oil dalam makanan carbs, especially di local carbs. Ada juga kajian dengan salmon pun we can change that with salmon. They can replace fish oil. Alright, that's all on lipid. Any question, guys? Class?
Prof, saya ada question.
Yeah.
So, like you said, fish oil is getting low in production and it's getting expensive. So, other alternatives that is cheaper in terms of entry reach?
Cheaper, yes. Vegetable oil, especially kalau omega-3 linseed lah. But you cannot use it 100%, linseed. So you might combine with some of the oil are also rich in ada juga dia omega-3. So you can use linseed and also canola, crude palm oil pun ada juga. So you boleh combine. So and the combination is varies with fish from fish. So our study with kerai lampam, number one is still crude palm oil. For kerah, is also crude palm oil. Boleh ganti 100% fish oil. But yang marine fish, we still require the fish oil. It's very important. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Okay. Any other question? Kalau tak ada, kita can. Ya.
Okay, Prof. Saya soalan. Okay, untuk oil ni ada efek untuk macam mana? Kalau kita bolehkah kita replace crude oil dengan minyak yang dah purified tu, yang kita guna untuk makan tu kan? Dan itu pertama, yang kedua, in terms of palatability untuk dua minyak ni beza ke? Itu soalan saya.
Palatable, it depends on fish lah. Kalau so far yang kita test all the oils ni, semua dia terima je. Cuma yang kata-kata palatability ni, yang linseed oil ni kita tak boleh gunakan banyak lah. So far yang kita buat, because kita buat kajian ikan yang not more than 5%. So tak ada masalah. Dia boleh ambil juga linseed ni. Again, dia punya digestibility tu memang tak banyak beza lah pada saya. And either you gunakan crude oil ni lagi banyak, lagi so far yang kita dapat crude oil ni lagi better daripada kita gunakan yang purified. Purified lagi mahal kan yang refined tu. Macam refined cooking oil tu like canola atau corn oil, soya oil, and also palm oil yang dah refined tu, dia cost lagi expensive. And unless yang you beli yang dapat package. Excuse me. Kalau beli package yang dalam plastik tu cheaper lah kan, sebab ada subsidi. Compare dengan fish oil memang macam tu lah, sebab crude palm oil pun dah naik harga dah sekarang, but still cheaper than fish oil lah. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Prof.
Okay. Ada lagi soalan? Saya boleh stop dulu sekejap kot. Kalau tak ada, kita jumpa petang ni 2 sharp kita cuba. Alright, for the lab, and as usual, Dr. Encik Saleh, Cik Firdaus, Mr. Nafis dan juga Sulaiman will be helping me lah. Saya mungkin tak stay sampai petang ni, nampak dah mula sesema dah. Alright, okay, kalau tak ada kita wrap up the class. Okay, Azlan ada nak tanya apa lagi?
Tak ada nak tanya, just nak inform dekat Prof, ada seorang student sekarang ni dia tengah menjalani kuarantin.
Okay. Dia kena bagi itulah yang dia punya kuarantinnya dalam Malaysia Sejahtera tu. Kena
Alright.
screenshot dengan
Saya ada dia
saksi.
punya MC daripada BKU. Nanti saya share dekat Prof,
Okay.
boleh? Alright.
Okay, boleh. Alright. Selain
Itu saja.
daripada Azlan ni, ada dia punya pembantu ke? Kalau masukkan dalam grup je, senang saya nak contact balik nanti. Yep. Alright, thanks everyone. Saya ada nama-nama ni 10, 11 ada, 12 ada, macam mana boleh ramai? Ada 47 dalam kelas ni. Wah, hari ni sampai 2.
Ada orang pakai 2 account tu, Prof.
Oh, okay. Alright. Okay. Saya save dululah, apa pun. Right, thanks everyone. Kita jumpa petang ni. Moga saya sihat sikit lah.
Thank you, Prof.
Alright. Assalamualaikum.